Hello and welcome to the Big Picture. The one rank, one pension scheme controversy has revived, with a veteran soldier committing suicide here in the capital day before yesterday. The tragic suicide of Subedar Ramkishan Grewal and the equally shocking detention of Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi and the Congress Vice President has forced a relook at the entire scheme, which the government has claimed to have been implemented. Recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also declared that the OROP scheme has been implemented and already 5,500 crores of rupees has been paid as installments. However, as Subedar Grewal claimed before he took his life, as well as many other veterans who are now back at Jantar Mantar here in the capital, the scheme has not been implemented as promised. So what are the differences between the claims of the government and the demands of the veteran military men? Where does the lacunae lie? We will discuss all this today with Major General retired Ashok Mehta, a security analyst, Major General retired P.K.Sehgal, a defense expert, Commodore retired Uday Bhaskar, Director Society for Policy Studies, will be with us very soon, retired Lieutenant Kameshwar Pandey, a veteran and an OROP activist, and Saikat Datta, visiting fellow ORF and a senior journalist. Welcome to all of you. Lieutenant Pandey, what is the problem now? Government is saying that, we have implemented the scheme. Already 2 installments have been paid. 5,500 crores has been paid to the veterans. Now, what is the problem still?
There is no problem at all. Government has made it complicated. Since 506 days we are sitting at Jantar Mantar. The definition of OROP has been already decided by 2 parliaments, one outgoing and incoming. Honorable Prime Minister decided, and he promised before the 13 lakhs soldiers that when I will come, I will give 1 rank, 1 pension.
When was that?
It was Rewari Rally. And he has announced everywhere he is going, he is saying that the 1 rank, 1 pension has been paid, given by the veterans. But he is not talking with those who are sitting at Jantar Mantar from 506-7 days. Lakhs of ex-servicemen has visited, the countrymen, 3 sessions of parliament has gone, and the every man who are coming at the Jantar Mantar are saying that veterans are sitting. The Prime Minister is talking with the terrorist. The Prime Minister is talking on different stages, but he is not ready to talk. Actually, those who are affected by the present government is Langadi 1 rank, 1 pension. It is not complete 1 rank, 1 pension. The definition which has been taken by this government is change which has been passed by the parliament.
Okay. General Sehgal, do you agree with that?
Well, to the extent, firstly, I'll say thanks to the government that they've given us something which according to them is 1 rank, 1 pay. In actuality, it is 1 rank and 5 pensions. They have, to a very large extent, not being fair to the veterans who've been sitting, as he says, for almost 570 days.
What are you thanking them for?
Not only.
What are you thanking the government for?
I'm thanking them that they gave us something to the extent of 70 to 80%, which no previous government has given for the last 43 years.
No, sir.
One second. Let him finish. Let him. Lieutenant Pandey, let him finish. I will come to you. I will come to you. Let him finish first.
However, if you notice, everybody after the death of the Subedar is wanting to take political advantage of it. UP had promised only 500 crores in the last budget that they passed. As against, they knew fully well that it was around 8 to 10,000 crores that was involved. They were also making statements with a view to get votes. The present government has not been fair to the extent they have cheated these veterans. Nowhere in the world have ever veterans sat down on streets like this, from the age group of 35-40 to the age group of about 90 and beyond, and demanding what is their due without an iota of doubt left to the government.
बोलिए
मैं ये बोल रहा था कि ये जो
he is saying that 70 to 80% has been fulfilled. That's what General Sehgal, that's what you said.
Yes, absolutely.
70 to 80% of the demands have been fulfilled. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
It cannot be classified between 80%, maybe 90%, but the section which is lower section, they are not, they are lacking by 40 to 45% of OROP.
Okay, General Mehta, where is the problem lie? One second, I'm trying to understand this problem. Is there more disparity when it comes to the lower ranks than when it comes than the higher ranks?
No, he is absolutely right about that. That the disparity in what he describes as 40 to 50% non-satisfaction compared to 80 to 90% satisfaction at officer level is a fact. And this is what the government has been describing as technical problems. This is not a technical problem. I know of people in the army who had worked out a formula to actually interpret the one rank, one pension as accurately, as faithfully as is humanly possible. Because it is not humanly possible to have one rank, one pension to the dot, that is 10 by 10. So there is a problem of implementation, but you can bring it, as has just been pointed out, you can satisfy people to the level of 80 to 90%, and that is doable. Now the tragedy here is this, that the Prime Minister makes promises at the Rewari rally of doing something that nobody has done before. Now this could have been done by the previous government. The previous government had also allotted a certain amount of money, but they had not done their maths properly. So the fact is that when these people are sitting there for 500 and odd days, there was a requirement for somebody senior enough to meet these people.
No, but because they were met. They were met.
No. This, they were met at the level of cabinet secretary and
defense minister.
The question is, there is a prime minister. This is not merely a question of the defense minister. You have got more serious problems, because on the one hand, you praise the soldiers sky high during the surgical strikes. On the one hand, you send your ministers tying rakhis, you go and spend time with soldiers. When it comes to the 7th Pay Commission, you do not give the soldiers the right, the dignity, the respect. So you cannot have it like disparity, one, in what you say, and two, in what you actually do.
Okay.
And so this disparity on what you are, how you honor your soldier in words lacks honoring the soldiers in respect and dignity, in facts, in status, in pay, in pension. There is a gap between what is said and done.
Saikat, we are told that a committee was appointed under Justice Narasimha Reddy, the former Chief Justice of Patna High Court, and that report has been submitted on October 25th. Now, what was the mandate for Justice Reddy, and what is it that this report is supposed to have given, and what will come out of this report?
See, as far as my understanding goes, the idea of looking at the anomalies that existed in the interpretations of the OROP is what was supposed to have been examined. And once you look at the representations made by the ex-servicemen and also understand it from the government's concerns about the fiscal implications and the interpretations, so on and thereof, all this was to be reconciled by the committee and then presented to the government, based on which, weighing the pros and cons, is what the government would then take a final call on this. But I think what we are sort of missing is, I'll just present a slightly alternate picture to what's been going on. You see, a larger problem today is that why is OROP becoming such a major issue? I think at some point, the fact is that the government which is in power today, when it was in the opposition, they decided to use it as a political platform to try and raise concerns about OROP. Now, when you are bringing an apolitical organization like the Indian military, the Army, Navy and Air Force, which has been very strictly and very consciously apolitical, suddenly you bring them and start using them as a political platform, and which you can now see after the surgical strikes. The government and the party in power has said that we will use the surgical strikes in the UP elections, etc. What it does to an apolitical organization, it starts introducing the men and women who serve in the armed forces a new language of discourse, public discourse, which is very political. Now, this in some ways is coming back to haunt the government of the day, because when you start introducing this kind of language, this will come and become a Frankenstein for you. That's point number one. And point number two, which I would like to add to this, is that today, not only has the apolitical nature of the services has been deeply disturbed, you also have to understand the services are unlike the other services, because no other service, whether the bureaucracy or police, do you have, especially in the lower ranks, people by the age of 30, 35 being retired from service because the younger profile of the services have to be maintained. And the same thing to an extent also applies to the officer cadre. For example, a full colonel who has not made it to the next rank will retire at the age of 53. When they are still in their prime and they have a large responsibility because children are getting into higher education and a whole lot of responsibilities.
Saikat,
So
all these are well known. All these are well known. My question is, what is it that has happened now which has created this confusion again?
What has happened is that there has been a series of things. For example, this controversy over the disability pension. Then the controversy about the 7th Pay Commission, which the chiefs have very clearly said they will not accept unless their concerns are addressed. And it is a fact that chiefs have never been, or the armed forces have never been represented in any of the central pay commissions. So these combination of factors today has come to a stage where the military, to a large extent and with a certain degree of justification, feels betrayed, especially when they were hyped up so much for political gain.
Okay.
Yes.
Very quickly.
He is talking about commission. The terms of reference to the commission given is
Justice Reddy Commission.
Yes, Reddy Commission. That is totally wrong and misinterpreted, and the points which are raising me from 507 days from Jantar Mantar is not addressed in that terms of reference.
Okay. Uday? Uday, you know, according to you, where does the problem lie now? Now, you know, will this, Lieutenant Pandey says that the commission's mandate itself was flawed. So now, you know, how does the government redress this problem?
You know, Girish, you are raising this question, where does the problem lie? And in your opening remarks, you had made reference to what the Prime Minister had said, that his government has resolved the OROP issue.
Yes.
But the reality is, and this is where the problem lies to my mind, it is not one rank, one pension. That what the government had finally approved and announced was the equivalent of one rank, but more than one pension, depending on...
Sorry to intervene. Is this a problem with the lower ranks, or is it a problem cutting across all ranks?
It cuts across all ranks. That's the short answer. And since we are talking about it today in the aftermath of the tragic suicide of the Subedar Sahab, I think that in many ways has become the trigger to draw attention to this issue again, which is the government claims that it has solved the problem which it had inherited from the previous government, and the Prime Minister asserts that it is one rank, one pension. As a veteran myself and as an analyst, I am saying that if you read the fine print, it is not one rank, one pension. It is one rank, different levels of pension. And the reason why Subedar Sahab, Ramkishan, I think, took this extreme step was his interpretation of retiring as a Subedar, a JCO, in the DSA in this particular case. He was of the, I would say, conviction that he would get a higher pension. I mean, if you look at the latest reports, the family has said that it was a difference of 5,000 rupees.
5,000 rupees.
Now, and I think Ashok Mehta, I mean, General Mehta's point is well taken. It's a very complex exercise, but to get back to the central point, the
but you
one
also
rank,
agree,
one pension...
Sorry, you also agree with General Mehta that you actually cannot have 100% clarity on this.
Well, I would say that it can be done, but it would need a lot of effort. Okay. But I think the principle, Girish, is what needs to be noted. And this is where I think there is a variance between what the Prime Minister has said from a public platform and what the MOD has finally announced and approved. And I think General Sehgal also made the same point, that it is one rank with many pensions.
He said 5 pensions.
And the term used by Pandey Saab, it's a Langdi award that has been given. It is not a full one rank, one pension. It is the spirit that I think has not been kept, within the sanctity. Let me pick up Saikat's point. There's a larger issue here, which is that the Indian Fauj, both serving and retired, the Indian military, feels betrayed by the state. And that is what you're seeing on Jantar Mantar. All of these, are matters of detail. But at the end of the day, for a democracy like India, to have the soldier making this kind of a protest and to not have a single senior political representative meet them in a spirit of empathy, that is actually quite damaging in terms of, I think India has diminished, Girish. Strong words.
No, very strong words.
That's what I would characterize it as.
Yeah, the big tragedy about the armed forces today in this country is that you remember the armed forces in moments of crisis, in times of war, and when those crises and times of war are over, you forget about their...
It is not over. We are right now facing a crisis. We are right now facing a serious crisis on the border.
I'm saying that once the crisis goes away, you forget the armed forces, and that is reflected in the way you treat the armed forces.
General Sehgal?
The armed forces have to be treated with dignity, with an amount of softness.
I don't think people like you should be even speaking.
I think my
this.
short point is, like the Prime Minister takes great amount of interest. He talks to secretaries of governments. He talks to joint secretaries. He has not interfered in or come into the defense sector at all. Whether it is OROP, 7th Pay Commission, modernization, in all these sectors, the Prime Minister's fingerprints are not there. Until he steps in, we will see.
General Sehgal, what is the problem? The government says that 10,925 crores is the financial implication of this between July 1, 2014 to December 31, 2015, which they have accepted and implemented. Funding is implemented.
Perhaps another few hundred crores.
Few hundred crores, that's all.
They've let the elephant go and they've held on to the tail. With the result, they've totally lost the trust and the faith of the veterans. The defense minister went on record to say that I will give you only 80%, whereas we give for entire period of our service 100% of our effort to maintain the dignity of the nation, to maintain its izzat, to maintain its image, to maintain its integrity, homogeneity, sanctity. The armed forces officer, JCO, NCO, OR, all 24 hours, 365 days, puts his life on the platter for the sake of the nation. And when it comes down to nation, is the nation prepared to accept 80% efficiency?
Yes, Lieutenant Pandey.
I would like to say that before starting our agitation at Jantar Mantar, 32 ex-servicemen from all over India met with Raksha Mantri ji. Raksha Mantri ji categorically gave his planning, and he brought the whole thing before the government and his ministry. He calculated, and 8,000 some crore was allotted, and that was satisfying the one rank, one pension principle, which has been approved by the 4th Parliament. But when it went to the finance minister, when it went to the finance minister, problem there started because bureaucracy came in between. I think Prime Minister and Raksha Mantri are very generous with us, and they want to give us, but they have been misguided. And they have also misguided that those who are sitting at Jantar Mantar are some terrorist or some union member. It is not like that. They are soldiers, there are double bar awardee and so many dignified generals, 50 generals and 100 Subdar majors came there, and they all have supported that if Prime Minister has promised and come to the power to give the 100%, he should give 100%.
Saikat is the problem the bureaucracy? As as Lieutenant Pandey says. And it's very disturbing to hear people like General Mehta or Lieutenant Pandey, having to justify themselves about their own, all of them who are sitting here, who have served the Indian Army, they have to justify their own integrity, their, love for the nation. It's very disturbing.
No, I completely agree there, and it's very, very unfair to the veterans and to our military, and especially the kind of service conditions they undergo. It's completely disagree. But I would also like to disagree with another point, and that is that this cannot be blamed at the doors of the bureaucracy. You see, the bureaucracy in a democracy, in a parliamentary democracy, finally respond to a political leadership. And whatever has been passed with the complete sanction of the political leadership. So to say at one point that, look, the political leadership is not responsible and only the bureaucracy is responsible, I think is completely untrue. Whatever has been done,
they are saying, they are saying that they have been misled.
No, it cannot be misled, because if the political leadership were to also speak to the veterans and hear their case, which, as Lieutenant Pandey has pointed out, that 32 associations did go and explain their point of view, then where is the question of being misled?
I think
you have there.
One second. Sir, one second. Let him finish.
They have heard both sides, and then they have taken a decision. And that decision, even a letter which recently created a lot of controversy, saying that there should be a different kind of parity between serving officers and their civilian counterparts, that was issued very clearly with the sanction of the political leadership. So I don't think it's a good idea to continue to say that the political leadership has been misguided or they are completely unaware. I mean, then I would be even more concerned that how can a political leadership be misguided? Then operationally also they can be misguided. That's a much bigger concern if that were to be true. So I will not agree with that.
Okay. Yes, gentlemen.
I think Saikat's interpretation has to be seen in another way. The bureaucracy, this case that he's citing and that you and I have heard about, where a major general is being equated with the principal director, it says that the old orders, it says with the orders of the Raksha Mantri. It is the job of the bureaucracy. I mean, nobody enjoys undermining the armed forces in civil-military relations than the bureaucracy. I mean, there is absolutely no doubt about that. Yes.
But why?
It is the political leadership that has to give. The political leadership does not have the time to invest in matters of national security and defense. And therefore, because after all, defense minister spends more time in Goa than he spends in Delhi.
These are all very serious allegations, actually. Uday, why, if the bureaucracy is, we have been hearing, this is not the first time, on my several programs that we have had, there has always been a problem with the bureaucracy. The defense bureaucracy has always been blamed, whether it is about pensions or salaries or even acquisition of defense weapons and things like that. But is bureaucracy the case, and why is it that the political executive is not able to get over this problem if they know that the bureaucracy is coming in the way?
Well, I would say, Girish, that as someone who studied this problem for a long time, that there has been a certain degree of abdication by the political leadership of the country when it comes to matters of national security. The response, when you see it, is generally when there is a crisis. But otherwise, if you look at India from 1991, when the Cold War ended, to where we are now, 2016 is a period of 25 years. We have not had a single debate in Parliament over any length of time which could be deemed to be either constructive or meaningful on a range of issues, including the fact that today the Indian military is in dire need of modernization and various policy decisions. Everything that happens is generally ad hoc, and since we talk about a parliamentary democracy, an index is how much attention has the political constituency of India paid to either the soldier or national security. My reading as an analyst, and I go through the annual debates in Parliament every year very carefully, it is close to zero. There is no meaningful debate in Parliament, except, as I said, when there is some kind of political advantage to be gained by raising a national security issue. So that is an institutional problem. The second thing about the civilian bureaucracy in India, again, I would say historically, going back to Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's days, when we had at a national level the profile of then General and later Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, I would say that there was an institutional attempt to progressively lower the status of the soldier in relation to the rest of the ecosystem. This has happened starting with...
And the political executive has not resisted this.
They have allowed it. I mean, I would go to the extent of saying they have endorsed it. So today we have a reality that in the Indian ecosystem of governance, the IAS officer, closely followed by the Foreign Service and the IPS, has become the new structure of governance in India. And those who really are hands-on and get their hands dirty and feet wet when it comes to national security are not in the business of governance. And that is where the armed forces have been excluded.
Okay.
And the last business, how is the Indian soldier seen in relation to the structure of governance, which I think has been corrupted progressively for 3.5 to 4 decades.
Okay, General Sehgal. General Sehgal, finally, where does the solution lie?
Solution lies in taking the army out from the bureaucratic control. The army is accountable to the politicians and the buck stops at the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has to exert himself. Loud and clear, everybody is indicating that the bureaucracy has been taking the defense politician, the defense minister for a ride. And if everybody feels so, 11 chiefs, retired chiefs, wrote to the Prime Minister about it. No action was taken. If 3 service chiefs today are continuously rejecting the 7th Pay Commission, it should shake up the government.
Okay. General Mehta, no, I have a question. I have a point also. Here we are at a situation where the tensions at the border is at its peak. Yesterday we discussed it, you were here, you were saying that since 2000 we have not seen this kind of tensions in the border. And this, how is it going to affect the morale of the defense forces?
Of course it is. It is. You know, if the service chiefs, and I know this on authority, that the 3 service chiefs wanted to meet the Prime Minister over the 7th Pay Commission. They could not. They neither got a yes, nor did they get a no. So this question of civil-military relations, on the one hand, you expect the armed forces, especially the army, to handle all the tensions on the line of control, handle left-wing extremism, handle insurgencies, handle cross-border terrorism. And when it comes to the nitty-gritties of their respect, dignity, pay allowances, there the Prime Minister will say, I have done it.
Okay. Lieutenant Pandey, last words to you. What is it that you expect the government to do immediately?
Government should talk to those who are sitting at Jantar Mantar. Government should talk to the chiefs directly. Government, not government. Prime Minister should have communication direct, leaving all the gaps in between.
In between.
And that will be the final solution. And one thing, I am sorry here to say you that those who belongs from the army, their statement when they go in the political scenario, they are giving I will condemn the statement which General V.K.Singh has given on the TV that the mental state of that JCO is maybe wrong. One second, my single point. That JCO was Sarpanch of that village. He has done very good job.
Yes, that has come out very well, and it was a very unfortunate statement which was made, and everybody seems to have come to the conclusion that such statements being made by a former general is something which hopefully something good will come out of this tragedy of Subedar Grewal taking his life. Let's see what will happen. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with other issues, the big picture, same time.